Hello and welcome to Team Thursday on NLF Live. Michael is here with me today and he's going to talk to you about street racing.
Street racing and how it can go wrong sometimes and how interesting it is. So let's say you buy a Honda Civic and you decide that you want it to look really cool. So you put adjustments on it such that the front end is maybe 3 inches off the street and the rear end is about 2 feet up in the air, higher. You put an extra set of intake valves on. You put on really high-tech wheels that are alloy, they're exceptionally lightweight. You put on what's called an air dam in front. Maybe you don't know this, but what slows your car down as you travel is called drag. And if you put something called an air dam in front, it pushes the air around to the outside. It looks really cool, but the reason it looks cool is like the reason that all the rest of this stuff looks cool is because it looks like it's making your car go faster, which it is. And if you do enough of that, your car can be deemed a street racing vehicle. So you might say, well, how can they tell it's a street racing vehicle versus just a car that I decided to make look really cool? Well, there's certain elements to it, but ultimately it has to do also with the way that you're driving it. If you're just driving it like a normal person would drive in traffic and you're just trying to make it look cool, well, then it's maybe not a street racer. If you're pulling up to the stoplight and you're looking over and seeing a similar car and it looks kind of souped up and you're gunning your accelerator and they're gunning their accelerator, and then you both take off at high speed down the straightway, that's a street racer. So it's all about the context. Most people don't know this, but there is a special team of investigators with at least one department, the San Diego Police Department, that evaluates and offers opinions about whether or not a vehicle is a street racer. And that's all because street racing is illegal, but it has to be proven. So they have to have the right kind of evaluation to determine whether or not a certain vehicle is or is not a street racing vehicle. I'll tell you a story. I had a client one time who owned a Honda Civic. It was all extra stuff on it, had the extra air intake valves. By the way, your car goes faster when it has more air in the air-fuel mixture. You didn't know this, but your car doesn't run on gasoline. It runs on an air-fuel mixture, a mixture of air and gasoline. And what people call a turbocharger, that's just a way of pumping more oxygen into the engine. Makes it burn hotter and faster. You get more power out of each piston stroke. Excuse me, but it wears out faster, which is why the average vehicle won't have it. So he had extra air intake valves. He had an extra exhaust valve so that the car, what's called, aspirates a lot better. He had all the things I mentioned, specialized wheels, specialized tilting. He had an air dam. He had a spoiler. What's a spoiler do? The spoiler on the back directs the air off of the back of the vehicle and gives you more thrust, depending on the type. There's other types of, because a Honda is a front-wheel drive vehicle, and you don't need extra drag on the rear. But if you have a Mustang or a Dodge Challenger, you want more downward pressure on the drive wheels in the rear. So the spoiler is designed different to force drag onto the drive wheels so that you get more power out of them as they push along. So anyways, this guy had a very, very tricked out Honda Civic. He pulled up to a stop sign, and right next to him was a very, very tricked out Acura, same kind of car. Acura is just already a fancier Honda with a lot of the extra same kind of upgrades and up additions, such that that was obviously a street racer too. They looked at each other, they started gunning their engine, and as soon as that light changed, this was on a street called Alondra Boulevard, which is about a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, and it's very straight. And they peeled out of there. They went about 2 miles through all kinds of traffic, weaving in and out, trading who's going first, who's going second. They kept going. Several eyewitnesses said that they were going at least 75 to 80 miles per hour. I mean, they were street racing right there in the middle of traffic. And then as they reached a certain intersection, there was a car turning left right in front of them. And my client avoided that car. He peeled off. He wound up smashing right into a tree. Luckily, he wasn't hurt. The other car broadsided the left-turning vehicle, directly T-boning it. It made it go airborne, upside down, and it was essentially sheared in two by a light post. Unfortunately, the driver was killed, and both of these people, both my client and the other guy, got charged with street racing and with vehicular manslaughter of the worst, most felonious kind. There's several different kinds of vehicular manslaughter. There's everything from kind of a simple negligence, kind of maybe you just run a red light or you miss a stop sign, all the way up to gross negligence like this, where you're just breaking every traffic law imaginable. You're driving way over the speed limit. You're avoiding, you're lucky you don't have 5 accidents before the worst one happens. They both got charged with this, but my client was not the one who hit the other driver. And their argument was, well, he contributed to it though. But my client was not the one who hit the other driver. He was a very young guy, and he was really, really remorseful. He was really sorry he had done this. He realized, at first he said, well, my car really wasn't a racer. I just made it look good. And I showed him the report from the street racing team, and I said, well, that's true, and I get what you're saying, and I'm sure you had no intention of anything going wrong. I mean, most people never do, right? But, the reason that you had your car look good is because it goes faster. That's why it looks good. It looks like a fast car. And he kind of got it. But the other driver had 3 other people in the car, 2 of which were children, neither of which was buckled into a child seat in the back. There were multiple injuries in his car. He's the one who directly caused the accident. That is to say, the fatality by virtue of the one hitting the other vehicle. And he had a record for doing the same thing, not necessarily causing a fatality, but he had done similar kinds of street racing and reckless driving in the past. My client got probation. The other guy got, I don't know how many years in prison, because we ended my guy's case and he moved on in his life and he's doing fine. The other guy may still be in prison for all I know. But that's an interesting case about street racing and an interesting case about vehicular manslaughter, and thank you very much.